Hello, my dear student. Welcome back to week 10 MySQL session number 2. In this session, we will explore about data types. As you have learned about data types in C++, right? In Java, there are many data types, such as what are those? Can you tell me? Int. Then you have float. Yes or no? These are all data types. Double for string in Java. You have learned about string, right? Now, in MySQL also, when you store data, okay, you need to specify what type of data, what type of data you can store, right? So in this session we will discuss about many different types of data type, about various data types. So let's begin. Data type. It represents the type of data that a column in a table can contain. It can be classified into the following categories. The data type can be a numeric, it can be a string, it can be a date, or it can be a miscellaneous. We are going to discuss all of them one by one. Let's begin with numeric. Numeric data types. It is used for storing numbers. Okay, if you want to store some numbers, then you can use numeric data type. It can be further classified into following categories. Now, numbers are also of different types, such as a number can be integer, right? It can be a fractional. It can be a bit. Let's talk about what is integer. Integer is like, for example, you have learned in Java, it can be like 1, 2, 3, and so on. These are all integer numbers. All positive as well as negative values like -1, -2, and so on. These are all integer, right? So the unsigned means we are not using the sign. Okay, we are not using the sign keyword. When used with the data type, specifies that the column can only accept positive value. Okay, only positive value, because unsigned, that means we are not uh, worried about the sign, which can be plus and minus. So if we use this word, that means we are going to accept only positive value, no negative. This, no. Okay, there is another word, this is wrong, so I will just delete this. Okay, the signed keyword. If you use this, the signed keyword, it is used to specify that you can accept both. Okay, you can accept positive as well as you can accept negative, both. Like you can store +2 or you can store -2. Both can be stored. So there are two words, unsigned keyword and signed keyword. Am I clear with this part? Let's move on. Look at this table. This table lists the integer data type supported by MySQL. There are two types of integer, a tiny int and small int. If you use tiny int, it can store the value ranges for signed integer. Okay, signed integer means it will use the sign, and it can store from negative to positive. So it can go from -128 to +127. Okay, tiny int. If you use unsigned integer, unsigned means no negative, then it will start from 0 to 255. Am I clear with this part? Right. Small int. This can store a bigger number. Like from, if you are using signed integer, then it can store from minus 32,768 to 32,767 for signed integer. But if you are using unsigned, then it can go from 0 to 65,535. Okay, am I clear with this part? So this is a data type and you need to remember this. In fact, you can write down one question. What are different types of integer data type? Okay, the answer is there are two, such as one is a tiny int, okay, and the second one is small int. So these are two different types of. Now tiny int can store the value from, I have already told you, from minus 128 to 127, and small int can store bigger number from minus 32,000 to plus 32,000. Okay, let's move on. Next type of numeric data type. We are talking about numeric data type and integer is one of them. Now we are going to talk about fractional. Fractional means decimal number like 2.5, yes or no, 6.1 and so on. So a column declared with one of the fractional data type can accept values without fractional part, such as 39. Values without integer part, such as 0.39, and the values that contains both the parts, such as 39.5. Both, you can store both, or you can store just the fractional part, or you can store the beginning part also. Any one is okay in the fractional data type. Okay. Now these are the, look at this table. The following table lists the fractional data type. First is float, like in Java. Okay, and this is the range you can see from here. Okay, storage byte, it takes 4 bytes. Then there is double. Double is bigger than float. Yes or no? Yes, and it stores the numbers for at most 8 bytes. So it can store larger number, big numbers. Okay, you can see this. This is the data from this minus to this. You can store in double. Okay. Next is bit. Now bit means you can store either 0 or you can store 1. And this is number. Yes or no? So you can store 0 or 1. That's it. These are all numeric data types. Okay. This is the third one, is a bit. Am I clear with this part? I hope so. Let's move on to the next type of data type we can use in MySQL. String. To store characters, if you want to store character, you can use, okay, you can use different types of data types, such as char or maybe char. Okay, n means how many character you want to store. Like for example, you can specify 5 here. That means you want to store 5 character. Let me show you this in practical. So I'm going to create one database. Okay, and I will say HUEL student database, student info. Okay, let's create this. Hit execute and refresh here, and that's my database. You can see here HUL student info. Now we have to use it. So use HUEL student info. Okay, execute, and it will become dark. Can you see that? It becomes dark. And in this database you can have tables, you can have views, you can have stored procedures, and you can have functions. All these things can be stored here, right? Now I'm going to create one table. So let's create the table. So create table. Table name, you can give student info. Okay, open in the close bracket here like this. Then you can use name. or maybe you can say initial. Now for initial, TIAL, initial, you can use a data type called char. Okay, you can see it's giving char, and you have to specify how many characters you can store. Like I can store 5 characters in this. Put comma, because I'm going to have more column, and the next column is name. What is a data type? You will use varchar, okay, and then you can specify the size 35. Okay, the next thing you can store is age. Okay, so you can use age here. And can I use tiny int? Yes or no? Look at that, tiny int. So I want to store a small information, so I can use this data type. Next information is I want to store about money. Okay, money. So is it okay to use tiny int? No, because if you use tiny int, you can store the information from -128 to 127 plus 127. So this is not good. So what you can do is you can use small int, right? This is a good data type you can use over here. Am I clear with this part? Now, you need to understand the difference between char and varchar. Char this is like a fixed character. Okay, it will take fixed character memory. If you say 5, then it will have a 5 fixed space. But like for example, if you store the initial as Mr. Now Mr. will take 2 character, yes or no? 2 character. But you have used 5 character. So it will waste 3 characters space in the memory. Space in the memory. It will waste 3 characters because you are not using it. Am I clear with this part? You are not using it. Okay, now varchar means, like for example, it's a variable character, variable characters. Okay, that means if you store, let's say, Akash. Okay, how many characters? Tell me. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 characters. Okay, so there are only 5 characters. So it will take only 5 space in the memory. Are you understanding? This will take 5 space and it will use only 2 space, and the 3 character space will be a waste. Okay, it will waste the 3 space in the memory. But this can change depending upon the size of the name. It will it will shrink and it can grow. If it is only 5 character, it will take only 5 space in the memory. Okay, and it will not use other 30 spaces in the memory. So my question is, which is better? Which one is better? The answer is this one, varchar, because this can save some memory for you. Understood? I hope you have understood the difference between char and varchar. I'm going to delete this because we cannot write like that. Okay. So please write down one question, your homework here. What is a difference between char and varchar? Okay, this is your homework. Okay, let's move on. Next type of data type is date. Okay, So there are three types. You can use just date, and this is how you can store from this to this. Okay, you can use date time. If you're using date time, then you have to store date and time both. Okay, if you want to store only year, then you can store you can use this data type. Like for example, let's say I want to store uh, student uh, started date. I want to store this information when the student started the uh, school, university or classes. So I want to store this information. So which data type I should use? I can use year data type because it's a data type. Okay, I hope you are understanding this. And if you want, like, next is student date of birth. Okay, so you want to store students date of birth information, you must put comma here. Then you can use which data type? Date. Am I clear with this part? Let's move on. Good, great. The next thing is creating a table. How to create table? This statement is used to create table. Let's look at the syntax. Syntax means rule. So let's take a look at the rule. Create. Now this is a bracket here. Yes or no? It means it is not necessary that you must use this word. No. This word will help you to create a temporary table. Temporary. Do you understand temporary? Temporary means it will be there only for some time, and then it will get deleted, right? But usually we don't create temporary table, so we don't use this word very often. Next is if not exist. That means if this table is not there, you create. The next is the table name. You can give the table name, and then you have to specify the engine. In which engine you want to store, in the memory, or you want to store in some database. You have to specify that. Okay, now look at this example here. So create table if not exist product. If this table is not exist, that means if it is not there, then you can create this table. Okay, now these are the name of the columns, like product ID. Int is a data type, not null. Not null means you cannot leave blank. You must input some information. Must input some information. Input some data. Am I clear with this part? This is means not null. Product name also cannot be not null. Quantity, it is also not null. Reorder quantity, null. Yes, here you can store null. Okay, so for example, is it okay if I don't insert name? No, it's not good. So you should say not null. That means the user must insert name. If the user doesn't insert the name, then it is an error. Am I clear with this part? Right? Okay. So look at this syntax. Create table, table name. You can also use if not exist. Okay, here you can write if not exists. Okay, that's great. Now let's create this table. So what you will do, you will click on this button. Right now there is no table, right? So click on this table and let's refresh, and you will see that a table is created. Student info. Can you see that? Student info. You can click on this and you can click on columns. So what are the columns we have in this table? There are initials, name, age, money, student started date, and student date of birth. So these are the columns which are there in this table. I hope everything is clear with you. Okay. Now, what is the next thing? Let's move on. Next is a very special statement called describe. You have to remember this statement, describe. What this statement will do? It will give you more information about all the columns in the table. Okay? It will give you more information about all the columns in the table. Let's use it. So I will just delete this, and I'm going to use the word describe. Describe which table? Student info. Okay, and you will click run. What it will do? It will give you the information, about all the columns in this table. Now in this table we have the first column is initial. What is the data type? 5 characters. Can we put null? Yes, and no problem. If you don't want to insert information, no problem. Name. What is the data type? Varchar. Can we put null here? No. That means you must insert some information in this column. Okay, that means null is not null. Okay, I hope you have understood this part. You need to remember this statement called describe. Describe student info. Am I clear with this part? Right? Let's move on. The next topic is applying constraint. Okay, constraint. Now you need to understand this word, constraints. This word means condition. Condition. This is what it means, condition. Okay, so a constraint defines a rule. Condition, this also means rule. So a constraint defines a rule that must be followed to ensure data integrity. Data integrity means the data must be correct. Okay, so you need to keep your data correct. And how can you keep your data correct? By using some rules. And how can you create rule? By applying constraint. I repeat, constraint means rules. You have to create some rule on the data. Like for example, age. The age cannot be less than 16, and the age cannot be more than 20. So this is a rule for age, right? Okay. Now there are different types of constraints, such as primary key constraint. I hope you know what is primary key. You have already learned about it in RDBMS about primary key, and I have asked you this question in your midterm exam. Okay, so I'm not going to repeat what is primary key. Please go back and study more about primary key, and I'm going to teach you how to create primary key in a table. Next is unique constraint, and the third is foreign key constraint. So we are going to learn how to create this constraint, means rule. Let's see the first one, primary key constraint. It is defined on a column. You can create primary key on a column. You can make some column or one column as a primary key. This column, whose values uniquely identifies all the rows in a table. Like for example, let's say I have a table. Okay, I have this table where I'm going to store the information about student, and I'm going to say ID name, age, and marks. Okay, tell me one thing. Now there can be a student whose name is Tom. Yes or no? Yes. And his age is 20 and his marks is 98. Right? There can be another Tom, another student whose name can be same, Tom. His age is 21 and his marks is 95. But how can we uniquely identify these two information? We need to have a column whose value should not repeat, like ID. Now this Tom ID is 001. This Tom ID is 002. Now this is it repeating? No. The value of this column should not repeat, and this column is primary key. Primary key. I hope I'm clear. Primary key. So what is primary key? A primary key means the value of this column should not repeat. Am I clear with this part? One question. Can we store null? Null means no information. Like there is a student, let's say the student name is Sam. S-A-M, Sam. Okay, and for Sam, his ID, I'm storing null. Null means no information. Is it possible? Tell me one thing. The answer is no, it is not possible. Okay, so the primary key column must be not null. We have to use this word not null. Do you understand this? Yes or no? So primary key must be not null, cannot contain null. Okay, how to create? Let's see the rule syntax. Create table, table name, some columns over here, and then you can define the constraint. Okay, let's see the example. This is the example here. Look at this example. Create table if not exists product. This is the name of the table. Then these are all my columns. Look at this product ID. Every product will have some ID, and the ID cannot be null, so not null. Okay, now look at the last part of it here. I'm defining a primary key in this table. Primary key, which column is primary key? Product ID. Look at this here. Product ID is my primary key. I hope you have understood this rule. Now I'm going to show you this practically how we can do this, right? Okay, so let's see this part practically. How can we do this one? Okay, to do this, what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to delete this table because we have too many columns here, right? So how to delete? Drop database uh, uh, drop. No, I don't want to delete database, but I want to delete the table. Okay, so you will say drop table name. What is table name? Student info. Okay, execute this and it's gone. Right, now I'm going to create a table. Create table, again the same table, student info, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use name varchar. Let's take as 30. Okay, and let's say not null. Okay, next I want to use age and I'm going to say int. Great. After this, what you will do, you will execute and you will see my table is created, student info. Okay, then you can use describe command, describe student info, hit execute, and you can see there are two columns. This is the data type. For name, null is allowed? No. Let's try to insert now. Insert into, this is a command to insert data. Okay, insert into table name, student info. You will use values, open and close bracket. Now name is a varchar. Yes or no? Yes. So you can use varchar. For varchar you have to use single quote comma age, let's say 21. Okay. Now let's run this to execute. So it is inserted here, right? So what I will do, I will try to insert null here. Null is a value. Null means no information. Let's run, and then there is an error. Let's see the error here. Can you see that? Error. Column name cannot be null. You cannot, you can't keep the name as null. Yes or no? Because I have used not null. Understood? So you can't do that way. Let's do one thing. Let's fire the select query. Select star from which table? From student info table. Now this is a query to select all the information from this table. Okay, let's hit execute. And you will see that my first name is blank. Blank means unknown. Null is different. Okay, null is like I don't know the information. Blank is something like his name is maybe space or something like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I will delete all the information from my table. So truncate table. What is the table name? Student info. Truncate means delete all the rows from this table. So let's do that, and it's gone. Let's fire select star from which table? Student info. Let's run this. Now there is no record. See, everything is deleted. Now I'm going to insert again. Insert into, what is the name of the table? Student info. Values. Let's enter this time Akash. First column. Second, my age is 35. Close this. Okay. Now let's execute this. Great, it's done. Inserted. Now can I keep inserting this again and again? Yes. See, I have inserted many times Akash, 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 right? But this is not correct data. If I say select star, select star. Star means every column and every row. From which table? From student info table. Okay, so select star from student info table. Execute. Look at that. Akash, 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 35, 30. This is not correct. Yes or no? We should not do like this. So what is the solution for this? I'm going to teach you the solution. Okay. And if I say, okay, let me teach you the solution, how to avoid this thing first. Okay, to do this, first I'm going to drop my table. So drop table student info. Drop means delete. Delete my table. Hit execute, and my table is gone because I'm going to create again. So create table student info. Okay, and here this time you are going to use student ID, and this is going to be int, and you cannot put null, so not null. Okay, I hope everything is clear to you. Next, I want to store the name. For name I'm going to use varchar 30. Okay, then I want to store the age. For age I'm going to use int. That's it. Okay, let's execute this, but before that I need to use the primary key. So you can use the word primary key. Look at that. Please pay attention to this. So you have to use primary key, and then open and close bracket. You have to tell which column you want to be primary key. So I want to keep the student ID as my primary key. So I can use student ID as my primary key. Am I clear with this? So execute now. Click execute. Everything is perfect. Look at that. Now I'm going to use describe table student info. So here you can see student ID, the data type is int. Can we put null? No. And it is a primary key, primary key. Okay. So primary key means you cannot repeat the data of this column. Have you understood? Okay. Let me do something more for you. So insert into student info values. Okay. This time I'm going to say 001, or let's try to insert null first. Null, comma, next information is name, Akash. Next information is age, 21. Can I insert this information? Can I put null in my student ID here? Null. Can we do this? The answer is no. We can't. Look at this. We are getting error here. Student ID cannot be null. Okay, you cannot insert null in this. So this is wrong. Let's put some ID here now. So 001. Is this okay? The answer is yes. Let's insert. Yes, successful. Let's check. How to check? You can check by using select star from where? From student info. This is my table. So hit execute. You can see student ID is 1, his name is Akash, and his age is 21, right? Now I'm going to insert more information. So insert into student info values. I'm going to insert same ID again, 001, comma, let's say Titan. Okay, let's say his age is 20. Okay. Now let's try to insert this record. So Titan also has the same, ID. So can we insert this data? The answer is no, you can't. Look at the error here. It's cross. That means something is wrong. Error. Duplicate entry 1 for the key primary. That means you are repeating the data for the primary key. So it is an error. So you cannot repeat the data for primary key. Am I clear with this part? Now if you change this to 2 is okay. No problem with this part. So let's select and execute. And everything is perfect. There is no error. Can you see this check here? Yes. So let's run this. Let's run and check. So select star from which table? From student info table. So do this and execute, and you will see there are 2 records. So this information must be unique because this is my primary key. Have you understood this? This is how you can create primary key. I hope you have understood this part. The next, you can see this, you can look at this example here. Primary key, open and close the bracket, and then you have to give the name of the column which you want to be primary key. So if you want, you can create this 2 table. Okay, this is your homework, home assignment. You will create this 2 table. Home assignment. The first table is product first, and the second is customer. Okay, so this is your home assignment. You will complete this. In product table, my primary key is product ID. This is my primary key. Okay, and in customers table, my primary key is customer ID. Do you understand? So do this. This is your homework for this. The next type of constraints means check or condition. Check is unique constraint. Okay, it is used to enforce uniqueness on non-primary key column. So let's say that there is a column, and that column is not a primary key, but you don't want to repeat the value of that column. So how can we do that? We can do that by using unique constraint. Okay, so unique constraint is used to apply unique value on non-primary key column. That means any column which is not a primary key column, but still you want a unique value, then you can use unique constraint. Am I clear with this part? You can create multiple unique constraint on a table. That means in one table you can have many unique column. How to create that? First you need to create the table. Okay, and let's see the example here. Look at that here. So this is my primary key. Okay, and then I create a p name which is product name, has to be unique. The product name should not repeat. Okay, so now here I want to store the father name. Okay, father name here for the student. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add one more column here. Okay, how to add a column? You need to modify, you need to change, okay, you need to change your table, right? Let me refresh this. So I have one table and there are 3 columns. I want to add a new column here. So to add a new column, you have to use alter command. Alter means change table. Which table you want to change? Student info. Then go to the next line and say add. What do you want to add? Add column. Okay, add column, the name of the column which you want to add, that is student father name. Okay, student father name, and then you can give varchar size of that 30. Okay, this is how you can do. Then on the next line you can use this line constraint some name, unique p name. Okay, and then unique, you have to, this is a function. Okay, so let's do that. Constraint, okay, you can give some name up space, then you have to use unique, open and close the bracket, it's a function, and which column you want to be the unique. So student underscore father underscore name, you want this column to be unique. So this is how you can use. Okay, you have to use add. So add constraint, this is the name of the constraint, condition name. Okay, then you have to use a function unique, and then you have to give the name of the column which you want it to be unique. This line will add a new column to this table. Right now in this table, how many columns I have? 1, 2, 3, and I want to add a new column. Then you have to use a command called alter table name, add column, the name of the column and the data type. Then you want to make this column as a unique column, unique value. Then you can use add constraint, this is the name of the constraint, this is a function, and the name of the column which you want the value to be unique. Okay, execute this. If everything is okay, yes, you can see here my command is successful. You can put a refresh here and you will see there is one new column which is student father name. Now what you can do next is the next you can use is describe. Okay, describe student info. Okay, so select, execute. Now you will see that this is my primary key, so pri. Okay, and this column is unique. Okay, it's unique, you cannot repeat the name. I hope I'm clear with this part, right? Let's fire a select query. Select star from student info. So select and execute this. So you can see right now there is null over here for this. Actually, it should not be not null. I made a mistake. It can You can use not null for this column. Okay. Now let's try to insert some more information. Insert into student info values. Let's insert 003 comma let's say Tianao comma his age is 20. His father name is let's take Tiano father. I don't know his name, so I'll just use that. Okay, Tiano father. This is the name I want to store. So let's execute. Everything is perfect. There is no problem. Now I want to store another user, another student 004. This time I'm going to use a Sam and his age is, let's say, 19, and I'm going to use this Tiano father here. Can I do that? The answer is no, because this column is unique. Let's execute and it will be an error. Can you see that here? It's error. What is the error? Check the error, please. The error says that duplicate entry Tiano father for this is not allowed. You can't do that. Okay, so you need to change this value. You can say Sam father or Sam's father name. Execute and everything is perfect. Now let's check this value. How to check? You can say select star from. Okay, select star from where? From student info. Okay, let's hit execute and you can see the output here. So third, ID number 3, Tianao, his age is 20, his father name is Tianao father. ID number 4, Sam, his age is 19 and his father name is Sam father. So this value will be unique, but this is not a primary key. I repeat, this is not a primary key column. This is unique key column. This is my primary key. So the value cannot repeat. Understood? I hope this part is clear to you. In the next class, we will discuss about foreign key. I stop here for today. So this is, I want you to practice this all primary key and unique key, and you can show your your work in QQ group. You can display, or maybe WeChat. You can share your home assignment. And I've also asked you to write down some questions before, and these 2 questions I want you to write down the answer for these 2 questions and share in the QQ group. That's all, my dear student, for this week session 2. See you in the next week with some more practical and with some more interesting topics. Bye bye.